Hi. Hey, it's Marker. Sorry, I don't want to be doing this voiceover. Today, if you couldn't tell, I'm going to be drawing, once again, another dude. Very proud of myself. I'm going to be drawing Howl from Howl's Moving Castle, which is a Studio Ghibli movie, which if you haven't seen any Ghibli movies, I feel terrible for you. You are missing out. They're just lovely animated movies. And today I was drawing my one true love, Mr. Howl. The reason I'm drawing Howl is because he's, oh my god, I can't explain in words how much I love him. He's adorable and a skinny legend. I think yes. Anyway, getting away from the character. As you can probably tell, this is not my usual format. I mean, I do usually do traditional art. That's not what I mean. But I don't know if I've ever used watercolors or inks or anything on this, which is kind of funny because I literally used to use only watercolors and inks. But that was, I think, like 2018. It's been a while, you know what I mean? I started off with a dip pen and some black ink, which will come into fucking place later. I'm doing the line art. Instead of using a micron pen, I decided to do my dip pen. And I'm not very good with my dip pen. First of all, because I have really, really shaky hands. And you can't see it from this clip, but soon enough, whenever it does the close-ups, you'll see how many mistakes there are and stuff like that. And I really like the way the line art looks. It's very, from here at least, it looks so clean and nice. And I like the different line weights. I just think that's a kind of cool look that I don't use very often. With all the stuff I do on this channel, I barely ever even have line art. I'm going in with this brown ink because I feel like the overall theme of the movie is very soft and nice, and I didn't want the background to be drawing too much attention, so I decided to use a darker brown ink instead of using black. And I have a dark brown ink, one by the same brand. It's no, it's not. It's, instead of Winsor & Newton was the one that made the line art, but I have one that's by Bombay Inks or something like that. I recently got this walnut ink that I did not realize when you added water to, it would bleed. And if you don't see where this is going, I'll explain it to you easy. If I'm using paint to color it in, and the paint needs water to activate, putting the water onto the inked area is going to make the ink pick back up and reactivate itself. It's gonna bleed everywhere. But thankfully, it doesn't look that bad from above whenever you look at it, but from far away, it is rough. It's really bad. And I think now, since we're onto the list of misfortunes that happened in this painting, I'm just gonna say it here and now, I'm not very good at watercolor. I mean, I didn't use watercolor for most of this. It was a mixture of inks and watercolor. I personally prefer inks because sometimes watercolors can get really chalky and weird looking, but more with inks, they end up looking a bit more shiny and pretty. So I usually use inks, but this time I used a little bit of a mixture. I just felt like it, you know? Started off with the skin with just, I didn't really feel like mixing a color. I don't know why. I kind of wish I would have, because it's a very yellow, peachy color, but it's whatever. I can't do anything about it now. But so I started off with that peachy yellow color, and then I started going in with shading, and I am very, very impatient, which is one of the reasons I do not do very good with painting, especially with watercolors. Because if you've never used watercolors before, if the area is wet and you put more color onto it, it will go into the entire wet area. So if you blend too early, you'll end up with let's say I'm doing red, but if you blend too early, you'll end up with red all over the face instead of the areas that you wanted it to be in. Do you know what I mean? So that starts coming into place like right about now because I started doing some shading with some reds, which is always my favorite. I love red shading, but pretty soon, as you can see, I start blotting the lips because I put way too much red on them and they ended up looking like lipstick. So I started blotting off the color, which is not it's not a bad thing, but it's not really good for the paper. But I prefer having the ripped up paper than the like blood red lips. So I started blotting it off and it looks like he has foundation lips, if you know what I mean. Because I hated the look of the really light pink lips, I started adding in more color before the water was dry, which is exactly where my downfall started. Um, it ended up spreading across the entire lip and ending up look like he had like these big old like juicy overdrawn lips. I was like that's a look but not the look I'm going for. So I had to let them dry and I just kept on picking up more and more paper from underneath because I kept on putting more water on top of it and it was grinding up the paper. And I used very, very thick paper for this. I think the weight is like 140 or something like that, which 140 pounds is very thick paper. It's specifically watercolor paper, but I still had issues with it breaking up a little bit, but I think it's because I layer so much and I wasn't letting it dry quite, so that's why it ended up so cracky and weird. This paper warped so bad. It's because I didn't tape it down because I recently ran out of masking tape, so I ended up just taping it down with like scotch tape underneath. And so it warped absolutely terribly, and whenever you look at it in real life, it is so floppy and lopsided. Thankfully it looks pretty in like this, but yeah, no, it's not the look that we're going for. Another misfortune was my doing the hair. I went over that hair color like 3 times, and out of those 3 times that I went over it, I decided to cut them out because it took up like literally 20 minutes. But the 3 times that I went over the hair, it did not work anytime. It just kept on looking terrible. So I finally was like, fuck it, I'm giving up. I'm just gonna put on the shading and hope it like for the best. And it ended up looking pretty good. Like I like it. It's very pretty if you do ask me. I can't get over how shitty it looks. It like looks really bad. My brain cells do not work. It's literally an epidemic. So let's get into the next thing that also went wrong. The highlights, because when I do a watercolor, I just like go right in. I don't worry about highlights or whatever. So I could not for the life of me find my white gel pen that worked. And for some reason, because I like inflicting pain on myself apparently, I kept on finding gel pens that were empty or that didn't work as well, and I could not find my gel pen that works like 100% like amazing gel pen that I always use. I ended up doing most of the highlights with acrylic paint. The paint in the gel pens is very liquidy and thinner, but it's still very opaque and nice, while acrylic paint is a lot thicker and chunkier, I would say. So I really had to shake it up a little bit. And then if you also add water to the gel, like the acrylic paint to make it smoother, it makes the color less opaque, if you know what I'm trying to say. So that's why gel pens are just superior to using acrylic paint, but that's off topic. I eventually found it, so it's like no big deal, but like it was still a misfortune. I'm still very heartbroken about it. Most of the painting I just literally spent doing skin. I kept on adding more and more, and just trying to get it to look the best it could be, and it ended up looking like pretty good. I like it, but like it's whatever. So now, as you can see, bringing back to what I was talking about earlier, that freaking background decided to bleed everywhere. That walnut ink did me so dirty. It's my own fault. It is my own fault. But will I acknowledge that? Absolutely not. It was not my fault. I did not do anything wrong. So in the end, I think this painting is still very pretty. After looking at it for a while, you realize some of the mistakes and stuff like that, but I still think it's just like, it's a very pretty painting. I still think that. And for my first time painting in like, with watercolors at least, in like 2 years, I think I did pretty okay. So yeah, tell me what you think though, because everyone I've talked to thinks it's very pretty, but on the other hand, I'm like, can y'all not see that dumb background? But I mean, whatever. It's not my fault that they're blind. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. We're getting to the end here. And if you like it, follow me on all my socials. I have a Byte now, and I post there like nearly every day. So yeah, if you like the video, subscribe, like it if you'd like, and leave me comments. I love them. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. So thank you. Bye!
Killing the masses, killing the pool. Bitch, you know I am the murderous tool. Freddy gon' kill you right out of his tomb. Choking you out and you'll hear the big boom. Devilish shit, choke on a beach. Packing and stealing, finesse